Ladies and gentlemen, it is Champions League prediction time here on the Players Own YouTube channel. Matchday 5 prediction time. Straight after the international break, we have midweek football action, and boy, do we have some exciting games that come. We've got Chelsea and Barcelona, Arsenal and Bayern Munich, Atletico Madrid playing against Inter Milan. So a lot of great games throughout the whole 18 to come. And I'll be predicting all 18 games. Let's not waste any time. Let's get straight into it. Champions League predictions for Matchday 5. We start in the Netherlands as Ajax face off against Benfica. And these two teams, the bottom two in the Champions League this season, both looking to get their first points of the campaign. Looking at Ajax, they were embarrassed last time out of 3-0 loss at the hands of Galatasaray. And I think in this game here, they've got to take the game on the front foot, try and get out this Benfica back line. The likes of Götze, Edvinson in the wide spaces, on the wings. It's going to be the avenue to goal. They need to try and outscore Benfica, who are not a very high-scoring side. And that, for me, is going to be the key. Get the ball into the wide spaces and attack this Benfica side, who were unable to get the better of a Leverkusen side, losing 1-0 last time out. But as I've seen across the last few games, improved performances. They come to this game probably the stronger of the two sides. I think in this game here, against a very, very vulnerable backline of Ajax, you could look to Pavlidis, the centre forward. Can he put that first chance away, get Benfica on the front foot? And once they find the back of the net, I think the shackles will be off and they'll look to try and win this game. I think it's going to be decided about who's the more confident side. Can Benfica get out of their shell and attack this Ajax side? Because if they can, as I said, they're probably the better of the two sides. And I just can't see this Ajax side keeping Benfica quiet. Going with the Benfica 2-1 win here. It is going to be a tough away game, but I think Benfica, with the performances we've seen so far in the Champions League, finally get their first win. We're in Turkey next for Galatasaray versus Union Saint-Gilloise. Galatasaray, another fantastic result last time out. 3-0 demolition of Ajax. I look to continue that in this game here, but the big name missing is Victor Osimhen. So as such, Leroy Sané and Salah in the wide space are going to be very, very important. Can they pick up the slack in the absence of the big centre forward? And carry them in the final third, because goals have been their answer so far in the Champions League, averaging over 2 goals a game, and that's going to be the key here versus Union, who were unable to cause an upset, a 3-1 loss last time out to Atletico Madrid. In this game here is Grain, Schroefs, Depere as well in the centre of the park. Galatasaray have been poor in that area in the Champions League this season. Frankfurt outran them in that area of the park, and they got a fantastic result. So if these three can outrun the Galatasaray midfield, it'll go a long way for Union to get the victory here in this game. For me, it's about Galatasaray wanting to get at Union Saint-Gilloise early on, get on the front foot, score that first goal. And for Union, it's about sitting in, absorbing some pressure, winning that midfield battle, and most importantly, making this Galatasaray side defend, because they have not been solid about the football this season. If Union can get the ball and attack this back line, I think they can get a positive result. It's going to be back and forth, but I do back the home team in. Galatasaray 2, Union Saint-Gilloise 0 for me in this game. Our next game is Bodo Glimt and Juventus. Both teams looking to bounce back. For Bodo, it was a disappointing 1-0 loss last time out versus Monaco at home. In this game versus Juventus side that is desperate to bounce back and desperate to get back to winning ways, I look to these two centre-halves, Mo alongside Bierhoff as well. These two centre-halves, massive job to keep Dusan Vlahovic quiet, to keep the late runners like Yildiz and Conceição quiet as well. And I think for Bodo, especially at home, it's about keeping clean sheets for as long as possible. Whereas for Juventus, it's all about attacking football. They've lacked that in recent times. A 1-1 draw versus Sporting Lisbon. They without a win from their first 4 games, and they're sitting outside of the top 24. So it's time they turn that around. I look to Dusan Vlahovic and I look to Kenan Yildiz. They're going to be the keys in this game. If the ball goes through them in the final third, you can expect good things to happen for Juve. But so far this season, they haven't got enough touches in dangerous areas. They need to go and be the leaders of this side here, attack this Bodo backline and get Juventus on the front foot. For Bodo, it's all about frustrating Juventus, having the energy without the football, pressing Juve high up the pitch, forcing mistakes. And for Juventus, as I said, it's about being more direct, increasing the speed of ball movement in the final third, and just attacking at will. The momentum will eventually show, and I feel like they'll finally get a good result at some point. But do I see that happen in this game here? I do not. I think Bodo Glimt are a fantastic side at home. They get the win here for me, a shock result. Bodo 2, Juventus 1 here, and Spalletti's troubles increase at the Old Lady. We're in Germany for Borussia Dortmund and Villarreal. Dortmund last time out, well, they were just dominated by Manchester City. It was a 4-1 loss there. They couldn't stop the attacking output of the City side. But they come into this game here versus a weaker Villarreal side. And as such, Serhou Guirassy alongside Karim Adeyemi, Julian Brandt, those up top are going to have a key importance here. When the ball ends up going through these key players and they're heavily involved, great things happen for Borussia Dortmund this season. Their attacking football has improved as the season's gone on. We know how dangerous Serhou Guirassy has been in the Champions League, and Karim Adeyemi's pace and dynamism is a lot for many sides to stop. So I think in this game here, those front three are going to be super important to get the better of this Villarreal side that have continued to disappoint in the Champions League. It was a 1-0 loss away to Paphos last time out. They need to get back to winning ways. They need to find their identity in the Champions League. But I feel like in this game here, it's about preventing goals, keeping a clean sheet. So as such, Renato Vega alongside Marin, the two centre-halves, are going to have to be solid. They're going to have to prevent chances for Serhou Guirassy and Karim Adeyemi. They're going to have to keep Villarreal in this game here. And most importantly for Villarreal is limiting mistakes. That has been their Achilles heel in the Champions League so far this season. Dortmund want the up-tempo style of play. I think they'll want to play with small passages of possession, but quick speed of ball movement, whereas Villarreal are expected to have more possession, but slower tempo, slow the game down, and take away the speed of game, which Borussia Dortmund want to play at. I think Dortmund at home, with the attacking players they've got, will be too much Villarreal here. Going with a Dortmund 2-0 win here against Villarreal to keep them on the right track in the Champions League. We shift our attention to London, and for the big game, Chelsea play host to Barcelona, two heritage sides in the Champions League, and they're facing off here in the next generation. We look at Chelsea, 2-2 draw last time out against Karabag, a disappointing result, and showed a lack of mindset, I feel like, and vulnerability at times in that game there. But in the Premier League in recent weeks, you've seen that solidity, we've seen that mindset and that willingness to win. They're going to have to bring that to this game here versus Barcelona. And in this game, if they want to have any sort of impact, it's going to be down to that midfield area there. Enzo Fernandez alongside Moises Caicedo, they have to take it to the Barcelona midfield, limit the control that Barcelona have in the centre of the park, take away one of their major strengths. And for Chelsea, if you can win that battle and get Caicedo on the ball, and again get Enzo Fernandez on the ball, and get Chelsea moving forward, then all of a sudden Chelsea go into this game and move forward as favourites. So it's going to be a real tight game, but that midfield battle is going to be massive, in particular for Chelsea, taking away Barcelona's control in the centre of the park. Looking at Barca, they also struggled last time out. A 3-3 draw away at Club Brugge last time out. Showed the vulnerability with their high line and getting exposed in transition. In this game here, we've talked about it all Champions League long, but Lamine Yamal and Marcus Rashford have been on a tear. And to get this Chelsea side that, look, they've been solid at the fullback, but they have looked vulnerable at times, especially with speedier wingers. These two could cause havoc, and we know how talented both are in terms of setting up chances and putting away chances as well. So look to Rashford and Lamine Yamal to run right against this Chelsea back line. Looking at the overall tactics of the game here, Chelsea, as I said, take away the Barcelona control in the middle of the park, win those one-on-one battles in the wide spaces, and they'll go a long way to win this game of football. I think for Barcelona, they want to play with the up-tempo style of football. I think manage the high line. Don't come out so far because we know they've got likes of Pedro Neto, Esteval, Garnacho, who love to run in behind and love to exploit high lines. So for Barcelona, keep possession, keep Chelsea penned in, but monitor the high line. And then for Chelsea, it's about pouncing on the Barcelona mistakes, playing direct when you get the football and exposing that Barcelona high line. I think we're going to get many goals in this game here. Two good attacking sides. I've gone with the Barcelona win, however. 3-2 in this game here. Chelsea will cause them problems, but Barcelona too good in the end. Stay in England, and the next game in Manchester for Manchester City and Leverkusen. City off the back of a dominant 4-1 win versus Borussia Dortmund last time out. Once again, the focus goes on to Erling Haaland. He loves to score against the German side. He dominated the Bundesliga, and expect him to potentially have this game won inside 45 minutes here versus Leverkusen side, who got a massive win away against Benfica, grounded out the result 1-0, and look to carry that same mentality into this game here versus Manchester City. And look, City's front line at the moment is in some great form. So the likes of Bade, Kwanzaa, Baloshian, the three centre-halves, are going to have to be at their very best to keep Haaland, Doku and Foden all quiet, because they've been playing some great football in recent weeks. And that's going to be the key focus for Leverkusen in this game here. For Man City, It's about getting on the front foot, playing that expressive brand of football, trying to operate in between the channel between the three centre halves and those wing backs, because those wing backs do get high up the pitch and there's some spaces for likes of Doku and Foden to get in behind. City look to exploit that area of the park. And for Leverkusen, I think they'll look to play on the front foot. I think attack will be their best form of defence in this game here. They'll look to try and get at Man City, who have looked vulnerable at times, maybe scoring for some set pieces as well. So it's going to be a back and forth game, but I just see Man City being too good, in particular at home in the Champions League here. An Erling Haaland masterclass coming. Going the Man City 5, Leverkusen 0 game in this one here. Man City putting Leverkusen to the sword. We shift our attention to Naples and for Napoli and Karabag. Massive game for Napoli here. They need to bounce back after a disappointing 0-0 draw versus Frankfurt last time out. It leaves them with only one win from their first 4 games in the Champions League. And as such, in this game here, a big focus goes on to their creators in the final third. In particular, David Neres alongside Noah Lang, 2 players that have been brought in to bring a spark to this Napoli front line, a spark that's been lacking in recent weeks in club competitions and also in Europe. They need to get Napoli ticking in the final third and create for the centre forward, whether that be Lorenzo Luca or Rasmus Højlund. For Karabag, they show their tricky nature once again. A 2-2 draw versus Chelsea at home last time out. Once again, Jankovic and Bicalo at the back, in the midfield area there. We look to protect the back line and compete against Napoli in the midfield area. They were fabulous versus Chelsea. Look to them yet again here to make it a real scrap in midfield and to make this game uncomfortable for the Napoli side. Napoli need to find a way to be successful in possession, simply put. They've struggled this season when they've had more of the possession. They're going to get that versus Karabag. Karabag will sit in, look to hit on the break, look to maximise their few moments in front of goal. So for Napoli, it's about creating the final third. As such, McTominay, Lang, Lorenzo Luca, Højlund, whoever it is up there, they need to make it count in the final third. I think it's going to be an uncomfortable game for Napoli. I think they struggle once again. I've gone with a 1-1 draw here between Karabag and Napoli. We shift our focus to France next for Marseille and Newcastle United. For Marseille, another trip in the Champions League last time out. A home 1-0 loss to Atalanta and failing to really create the final third in that game there. Look, in this game, it's going to be really, really important that they're compact at the back. Balerdi and Pavard, the 2 centre-halves, are going to be at their very best to take away the centre of the park where Newcastle play their best football. Voltemada, Bruno Guimaraes, Tonali, Joel Linton as well. That area of the park is their strength. So the 2 centre-halves, they're compact, they're solid. It forces Newcastle out into wide spaces, and that's where they can be more vulnerable at times. Looking at the Geordies, it was a good win last time out, 2-0, flexing their muscles to win at home versus Athletic Club. Once again, the wide space is going to be important. Newcastle need to create in wide areas. When they do, when Barnes and Murphy in particular are at their best, Newcastle normally win games of football. So look to those 2 to carry the load, in particular going forward in this game here. And as such, I think it's going to be a really, really tight battle. Marseille will try and bring the energy and match the energy of Newcastle United. And for Newcastle, it's about bring that intensity, the pressing, the speed of ball movement, which they do at home, and bring it abroad into an away game here. I think Newcastle have really struggled this season away from home. They've beaten some solid sides, but not much of the top-end sides. And as such, I see Marseille getting a massive win here for me. Gone with the Marseille 3, Newcastle United 1 game in this one here. Marseille getting back on track with the Champions League with a fantastic home victory. Up next is Slavia Prague and Athletic Club. Slavia Prague beaten 3-0 quite comfortably by an Arsenal side last time out. They'll have to get back to winning ways here in this one. And a focus on Provod and in particular Sanyang in the wide spaces. Can they get the better of a backline which struggles to defend the wide spaces which Athletic Club have? So that's going to be a key focus. Get the ball into the wide space, attack from the wings, and that's our avenue to goal if you're Slavia Prague. Athletic Club, well, they were beaten quite comfortably by Newcastle United, 2-0 away from home last time out. And this game here, it's all about creativity in the final third, getting at the Slavia Prague backline. So the focus goes on to Sanset and Nico Williams. Can they be the key cogs that get Athletic Club turning in the final third? And can they get the better of the Slavia Prague backline? I think for me in this game here, it's pretty simply put who's more clinical in front of goal. Both teams have struggled in front of goal this season in the Champions League. Some great attackers and creators on both sides. But whoever's more clinical for me ends up running away the winners. I think Athletic Club do that. It's going to be a tough away game, but I think they've got the quality to do so. 2-1 for me, winning over Slavia Prague. We move to Denmark for Copenhagen and Karat in our next game here. Copenhagen, well, they were very poor. 4-0 loss away at Spurs last time. That leaves them 1 point so far in the Champions League and well adrift of the top 24. This is a great chance to get back on track here versus a Karat side. And for me, the quality of Elyounoussi alongside Larson, they are the top tier players in this game here. They need to get involved. They need to be the driving forces for this Copenhagen side at home in particular versus a Karat side that is quite vulnerable. If the ball's going through these two creative sparks, great things were happening for Copenhagen in this game here. Look at Karat, they caused some problems for Inter Milan, but lost 2-1 last time out. I feel like in this game here, it's going to be down to the goalkeeper, Arne Bekov. Can he make some remarkable saves to keep Copenhagen out, and in particular, to absorb some pressure away from home? If he's at his very best, potentially Karat can grind out a result, grind out a draw maybe, but it's going to be very, very important that he's at his very, very best here in this game. Copenhagen, for me, all they need to do is score first. Once they score first, they can manage the game from there. For Karat, it's about grinding out this game, making it ugly, keeping the score 0-0 for as long as you possibly can, and then try and nick a goal in transition. I think it's going to be a tough watch, this one here, but I think Copenhagen get the all-important result. They've got them winning this game 1-0 at home versus Karat. Our next game is Paphos, who take on Monaco. And it was a massive win last time out for Paphos, getting that 1-0 victory versus Villarreal, leaping them into the top 20 with 1 win, 2 draws, and a loss from their first 4 Champions League games in their history. For me, it's going to be the 2 key centre-halves of David Luiz and Lucasen to deny Monaco their opportunities. Monaco are a team that haven't quite been dynamic and dangerous in the final third in recent weeks. And if these 2 centre-halves can keep it ugly, can deny the centre-forwards and the number 10s the ball, it goes a long way for Paphos being competitive in this game here. Looking at Monaco, it was a massive away win. 1-0 versus Bodo Glimt last time out. It puts them into the top 24, which is key for them. But for me, they're going to have to be much better in terms of their attacking output. As such, Ekaluche alongside Golovin up top are going to be very, very important. They are the 2 key chance creators. They are the 2 dynamic, wider players that can make things tick for Monaco, and they're the X factors. If they get going, they get the better of this Paphos side, they're on their way to victory. But in recent weeks, I haven't seen enough from these 2 players, and as such, Monaco have really struggled in front of goal. Paphos, well, they're built of making games ugly. I think in this game here, it's going to be the same outlook. Deny Monaco the ball in and around the box, force them to take shots from outside the box, force them to make speculative efforts. And for Monaco, it's about having that patience, keep going, keep attacking, and eventually that pressure will build and it will tell. And I can see this Paphos side breaking down. I think it's going to be a game of fine margins, and as such, I've got it as a draw. 1-1 between these 2 sides here. Paphos good at making the game ugly. Monaco right now struggling for a goal. As such, these 2 sides cancel each other out. We now come to the big one, the battle of the top 2. Arsenal playing host to Bayern Munich. And what a game this is for the Gunners. They come off the back of another dominant 3-0 victory versus Slavia Prague. It leaves them second in the Champions League table and without conceding a goal so far in the campaign so far. For me, it's all going to be down to that midfield area. Rice and Zubamendi are going to have to be very, very vital and game-changing in this game here versus Bayern Munich. They often win the midfield battle, Rice and Zubamendi, but they go up against a different type of task here. The Bayern Munich midfield is so consistent, is always so dominant, and often out-battles any midfield in the world. But if anyone can match up with them, you believe this Arsenal side can. The destroyer in Zubamendi, the control and the ball retention of Declan Rice. If these 2 are going, if these 2 are cooking, well, Bayern are on the back foot, and that puts that back line under pressure because that Bayern midfield protects that back four so well. So look to the Arsenal midfield to get in control of this game here. For Bayern, it was a massive result last time out. A 2-1 win away from home at PSG against the champions. It stamps in as the team to beat so far in the Champions League this season. They sit top of the ladder so far, and they'll look to continue here in this game versus this Arsenal side. And for me, it goes down once again to Michael Olise and Harry Kane, 2 of the best attackers in world football and the best dynamic duo, I feel like, in the world right now. They've got their work cut out for them versus one of the best backlines in the world, and a backline that hasn't conceded so far in the Champions League this season. If these 2 are having opportunities, are being fed the football in dangerous areas, Bayern Munich can get up and in control of this game and in control and on top. But if they're limited their opportunities because of the Arsenal backline and not getting enough touch of the football, that's when Arsenal can get in control of the game and can run out winners. I think this game here, it's going to be massive. It's going to be huge. It's going to be a battle of different areas of the park, 1v1 battles all over the park here for me. For Arsenal, it's about putting the centre halves of Bayern Munich under pressure. Not the best back line in the world. They're often covered up by that midfield there. So if Arsenal can put pressure on the back line, in particular two centre halves, for repeated efforts, I see them getting out on top here. Whereas for Bayern, it's look for them to stretch the game, to play into wide spaces, to utilise some transitional movements, and to try and break up Arsenal's slower, pragmatic style of football. I think the Gunners right now are one of the best teams in the world. They're playing some great football and they just look unbeatable. And as such, I see them getting a massive result and a massive win here versus Bayern Munich. Got an Arsenal 2, Bayern Munich 1 victory happening in this game here. Arsenal going top of the Champions League with this result. We're off to Madrid for Atletico versus Inter Milan. For Atletico, they took care of business last time out with a 3-1 victory over Union Saint-Gilloise, pushing them up into 17th place in the Champions League this season. I think massive gains in this tie needed from Hanko and Jimenez at the heart of the defence. We know how good the two Inter Milan centre forwards have been in this competition this season, so look to those two to be at their very best if Atletico want to get a positive result. Whereas for Inter, their perfect start in the Champions League continues. A 2-1 win at home versus Karat last time out. And look, once again, we focus on the midfield area. Zielinski, Barella, alongside Kalinoglu. If these three are in control, Inter Milan are often winning games of football. So look to those three to run that midfield area and put Atletico Madrid on the back foot. Both teams very pragmatic. Both teams quite slow in their style of football. Atletico will look to try and be physical and offset what Inter Milan look to do. Whereas for Inter Milan, it's all about owning the ball in those wide spaces, creating overloads with the wing-backs and trying to exploit Atletico Madrid in that area of the park there. For me, these two sides cancel each other out. Both are not the greatest going forward. Both love being on the back foot and counter-attacking. As such, I've gone with the 1-1 draw between these two sides. Germany next for Frankfurt versus Atalanta. Frankfurt showing some solidity defensively last time out. A 0-0 draw versus Napoli away from home. And they come to this game here believing they can take it to the Italian side. And for me, it all goes down to Jonathan Burkhardt up top. The striker has found his form finally at his new club here and is starting to score for the club. If he can get going this game here and find the back of the net and getting involved early, he can put this Atalanta side to bed and win this game of football off his own boots. So look to him to be the leader of this Frankfurt front line. Whereas for Atalanta, they continue to impress in the Champions League. It was a 1-0 away win versus Marseille last time out. It pushes them all the way up into 16th in the Champions League. And for me, where Frankfurt want to play a high tempo style of football, very aggressive, back and forth basketball style, I look to Ederson and De Roon, the experienced midfield combination to slow the game up, control the midfield battle, and get Atalanta playing at the tempo that they want to play at. And that's simply put how these two sides will match up. You set Atalanta to control the game and play a little bit slowly, and you expect Frankfurt to be up and down the pitch, playing with a high intensity, playing with a high tempo, and trying to get the better of Atalanta in that area of the park. For me, I think both of these sides cancel each other out. I've gone with the Frankfurt 2, Atalanta 2 result here. 2-2 draw, high-scoring game, but no one coming out with the 3 points. We shift our focus back to England and for Liverpool and PSV. Liverpool, fantastic. Probably the best result of the season last time out in the Champions League. That 1-0 home win versus Real Madrid. And coming to this game here, they're going to need Andy Robertson and likely Dominic Szoboszlai at their very best because PSV's wide creators are some of their strongest players in their side. And for Liverpool, that's the area of the park where they've been most vulnerable this season. It's going to be key importance to protect those two centre-halves and to be switched on to limit the effect of the PSV wide players. Whereas for PSV, they were held for once and able to get the better of their away trip to Olympiacos. A 1-1 draw there in that game there. For me, the midfield combination of Veerman alongside Junior could prove to be pivotal in this game here. Liverpool have lost a lot of midfield battles this season and have been outrun and outworked in that area of the park. And if these two PSV midfielders can do that, along with the creation in the wide spaces, they can get the better of the Reds in this game here. For Liverpool, it's about controlling that midfield battle. They did it versus Real Madrid, and you saw the positive result. And for PSV, it's about trying to exploit Liverpool in transition, capitalising on their mistakes, playing at a high tempo, and utilising the wide spaces. I think we're in for a high-scoring affair. I do back Liverpool in, though, to bounce back. Going with a 3-2 win here for the Reds versus PSV. We're in Greece for our next game as Olympiacos play host to Real Madrid. For Olympiacos, it was a 1-1 draw last time out versus a very, very impressive PSV side. They look to carry that confidence into this game here versus the Galacticos. And for me, it's going to be very, very important that Salakas in goal was going to be at his very best, because Real Madrid, off the back of a few poor results, are going to be hungry for a big result, and they're going to be on the front foot for minute one. So the goalkeeper has a massive role to play for the Greek side here. For Real Madrid, they looked completely toothless last time out. A 1-0 away loss to Liverpool, lost the midfield battle, got run through way too easy, and struggled to create opportunities. And as such, I look to Valverde and Bellingham in the midfield area. They're going to be at the forefront of everything that Real Madrid do. If they do, I expect Real Madrid to run rampant in this game here. But so far this season, these two have been invisible at times or lacking involvement, and as such, the performances for Real Madrid have really dropped off. So key that those two are involved from the start. They're dominating the midfield area and winning that midfield battle. For me, it's about Olympiacos sitting in. It's about maximising the limited opportunities. And for Real Madrid, it's about getting on the ball, being more direct, getting the ball into the feet of Mbappe and Vini, and allowing Arda Güler just to operate in behind those two. And for them, it's about being more direct in the final third and getting at this Olympiacos back line. It's going to be a tough game away from home, but I think they grind out the result. Real Madrid 2, Olympiacos 1 for me. The Galacticos getting another win in the Champions League. Our next game sees us return to France for Paris Saint-Germain and Tottenham Hotspur, a repeat of the Super Cup final. And for PSG, they need to get back to winning ways. It was a disappointing 2-1 loss to Bayern Munich, a direct rival in the Champions League this season last time out. And they'll be boosted by the return of the midfield trio. Ruben Neves, Fabian Ruiz and Vitinha all back in this game here. I think they're going to run rampant versus Tottenham Hotspur side. Tottenham like to sit in. The way to break down a low block is through these three in midfield. They've controlled so many games across the last two seasons. Look to these three yet again to be the driving forces for Paris Saint-Germain in this game here. For Spurs, it was a dominant 4-0 win last time out against Copenhagen in the Champions League. But in this game here, versus a big side, they like to attack and get on the front foot. Focus goes onto Romero and Van de Ven at the back. The two centre-halves have been great this season. They have to be at an elite level here to keep this Paris Saint-Germain side out, because Spurs have been more pragmatic away from home this season. They've gone to games trying not to concede, and as such, those two at the back are going to be of heavy importance in this game here. For PSG, they look to bring the energy, high press, great speed of ball movement, controlling the midfield battle, penning Spurs in, and they look to just allow that momentum, the home crowd, and the overall, I guess, attacking output eventually break down this Spurs side. And for Spurs, I expect them to sit in, absorb pressure, keep that low block, and look to hit on the break, hit the likes of Mohamed Kudus, Brennan Johnson, Otto Bear on the break, and try and maximise the limited opportunities in front of goal to potentially make one counter-attack stick. For me, it's just not going to work. I think PSG are way too good for this Spurs side, and I see them getting a massive result here, a bounce-back result with a 4-1 win over Tottenham in this game here. The final game sees us shift our focus to Portugal for Sporting Lisbon and Club Brugge, two of the more exciting sides in the Champions League this season. For Sporting, they were held to a 1-1 draw by Juventus last time out. In this game here, Højlund alongside Simos in the middle of the park can be heavy importance for me here. It's a massive midfield battle to win. The quality for both sides often lies in the middle of the park, and both the two sides have some great creative players. So look to these two, in particular Højlund and Simos, to try and win that battle, keep the likes of Vanaken and co quiet for Club Brugge. For Club Brugge, they were exposed the Barca high line last time out. A 3-3 draw at home versus Barcelona was a massive result for the side. And they look to bring that confidence in front of goal to this game here versus Sporting Lisbon. For me, it's Forbes and Solis in the wide spaces. Have been super dynamic, have been X-factors this season. Look to these to try and get the better of the Sporting Lisbon wingbacks and to get at this side here to potentially find the back of the net early and let that momentum show. For me, it's going to be back and forth. The higher tempo suits Sporting Lisbon, as more controlled tempo suits Club Brugge. It's a battle of two different styles, but I think Sporting Lisbon at home, with the energy they play with and the quality they play with, will get the better of Club Brugge here for me. Going with a Sporting 2-1 win here over Club Brugge. Another fantastic result for the Portuguese side in the Champions League. There you go, guys. That's all 18 games wrapped up for the Champions League and predicted here. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. What are your thoughts on my predictions? What are some of your predictions? Who are some of your key players? Let me know that in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed the video, guys, smash a like on it. Subscribe to the Players on the channel. Press that post notification bell. And that being said, guys, hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the midweek football action. And I'll see you guys in the video or podcast very, very soon. Till next time, see you later.